Now let's talk about connection types, and we're really talking about hardware connection types. And on the A+ objectives, CompTIA is dividing these into two types, internal and external. So the connection types is going to fall into one of two categories. The internal connection types, which is what we're going to focus on in this video, then I'll do a separate one for external connection types, is going to be basically IDE and SCSI, or SCSI. And then the external types are USB, FireWire, eSATA or external SATA, and Ethernet. Now there are more than these, and we'll cover more than these a little bit later on in a different section of the course, but this is how they're breaking them down in the objectives, and so this is how I'm going to cover them here. And there'll be a little overlap later, but get used to that in the A+ world. There's just too much going on inside a computer to not have some overlap. The two things you really need to be comfortable with as far as inside the PC connection types are IDE, Integrated Drive Electronics. Now this is where a disk controller is actually built onto the hard drive. This was a big deal when it first happened. Early PCs, the disk controller was totally separate. It was on the motherboard. It was something else to break. It was a whole other problem, a whole other family of problems. They moved it onto the hard drive, and it just made sense, and life got easier. What does a disk controller do? It converts the data into signals that the disk can use. Basically, it converts it into zeros and ones, or it converts it into electromagnetic pulses that can be applied to the metal platter of the disk. It also controls where and how data is stored on the disk. So really, it's kind of the front guard desk, the housekeeper for the disk. And so that's IDE, Integrated Drive Electronics. Now, SCSI is a little bit bigger of a deal. SCSI or SCSI is a very prevalent technology. It is what is used a lot of times when we're looking for speed and performance on the disk systems inside a PC. SCSI stands for Small Computer Systems Interface. If you're not very comfortable with SCSI, I'm going to, one of the few times here, really suggest that you go outside the course here and just do some reading on SCSI. Go to your local bookstore, find a chapter on SCSI, get online, buy a good book, whatever. You don't have to read a bunch, but just know the basics. Get out there and Google SCSI and do some reading on the internet, because there's a lot going on here, and depending on where you're at and your particular experience level, you may or may not be familiar with what you need, okay? But there's a lot of potential questions they could ask you about SCSI, and we're going to talk about SCSI some more in a different place in the course here, so you're going to get some more SCSI before you leave this course as well. Now generally, SCSI is faster than IDE, and so in a lot of server implementations where we need a lot of disk speed, because the disk is the most common bottleneck within the PC because it's the slowest device. It's a mechanical device. It's physically limited by how fast those disks can spin, how fast we can read those zeros and ones off of that disk in the forms of electromagnetic signals on the disk. And so SCSI is faster than IDE, and for that reason it's been very popular. Now here's the thing you need to remember. 7 devices can be attached to a SCSI adapter. Now watch the fine print here. Pay attention on this one, because as if you weren't paying attention before, right? I love it when the instructor talks to you like you're a little child, right? So forgive me. You can attach 7 devices to a SCSI adapter. The fine print says there can be 8 devices, but guess what? Your SCSI adapter is a SCSI device, okay? So you can have your SCSI adapter, that's 1, and then 7 other devices. So there's 8 total in the chain, but 1 is your adapter. So watch for that. Could be, it's not really a trick question, but you could see something like that on the exam. So anyway, that's your 2 internal connection types that they mention specifically in the objectives, and we'll get into SATA and eSATA and some other connectivity type things externally a little bit later on in separate parts of the course. But that's your internal connection types. 2 main ones you need to be aware of for the exam: IDE and SCSI.